Shut up and sit down.
What's up, guys? Hello, and happy 2020. We're here with a new podcast, and we're bringing just the biggest stars from now on. Just the biggest stars. So we started off with a golden podcast right here because we are with the current Cage Warriors Light Heavyweight Champion, because there's been no other since. And newly signed UFC fighter Modestas Bukauskas. How are you doing, man?
Yeah, I'm doing good, man. How are you?
I'm doing very well. Yeah. A bit cold here, but we're doing.
This is like the warmest winter.
Yeah, it's the warmest winter, but still cold.
Great.
I'm warm-blooded, man. What can I say?
What's the temperature out there?
We got like +3 degrees.
Yeah, +3 degrees.
Yeah, it's amazing in January.
Gosh, you lot are colder than us. I was about to start complaining.
Yeah, there we go.
It's cold out here.
So if anyone doesn't know, I'm originally English, so I'm used to complaining. I think that's why it is. Anyway, so
that's just our culture.
Yeah, exactly. First of all, I just want to say congratulations with the signing. It's huge news, and I know it's been a long time running for you. So
I appreciate that, man. Thank you so much.
I saw that for a while it was on your board at home that you write up like the things that you're going to do. I know after you signed that, you wiped that off and said go on the Freja MMA podcast. But now you're finally here, man.
So lo and behold, dreams come true, eh?
Yeah. So could you just talk about like how this all came about and how you finally was able to sign with them?
Well, I actually started my if we go way back, I started my career at middleweight, which, as we found out later on, was completely the wrong weight class for me. I even noticed when I was cutting down to, like, if I tried to cut down to middleweight now, I'd probably have to chop off an arm or a leg or something. Mm-hmm. Like, it was a pretty horrendous cut. But, I had a pretty good run there, 4-0. Then, unfortunately, I had 2 losses in a row, which, set my career back a little bit. Not so much, I would say, like mentally and what I thought I was capable of, because I knew I was capable of more, but I just didn't show it in the fight mentally. I just had, I would say, a bit of a blockage at that point. Then after that, I injured my leg, and then I was out for quite a long time. And during that time, or actually before I injured my leg, we'd fixed a lot of things that we noticed that were wrong with my with everything that I was doing, like even the fact that I was overtraining, my nutrition, doing boxing sparring. That was a massive sort of help in terms of my career, just to get my aggression and just sort of fighting mentality out there. Like I used to think a little bit too much like a gentleman, but when you realize you're in there with another man who's trying to knock you out, you've got to have a bit more of animal instincts. You need to be a bit more fearsome. You can't just go in there and try and be an athlete, because otherwise, in situations where, it's kill or be killed, you need to be the man that's on top. So you need to have a bit of aggression. So boxing sparring definitely helped with that. Mm-hmm. But anyway, so leading up to the injury, I was doing that. So I felt like I was on top of the world. And then, I tore my meniscus, and then I was out for another quite lengthy period of time. And then at that point, everyone sort of forgot about me. Everyone was like, oh yeah, he was just a bit of a hype train. Oh yeah, he lost these 2 fights, and stuff like that. So really, that was where in my career you could say no one believed in me. No one thought I was going to become anything, even though my dad and everyone around me knew that I was going to do something out there. It's just a case of I just needed my chance to show it. And Cage Warriors, basically, they weren't finding me a fight when I did recover, and things were quite, obviously I'd lost my first fight with them, so I don't know how great our relationship was at that point, but yeah, either way, they had loads of guys on their roster. They couldn't find me in a fight, so I took a kickboxing fight, and just to stay active. I just wanted to get in there, compete, and I won by knockout in the first round via spinning back kick, and which seems to have become my trademark move over the course of my career.
You don't see a lot of light heavyweights doing that as well. So
yeah, man, and trust me, you ain't seen nothing yet. We're working on bringing out the big guns. That's like we're bringing out the cannons. Those were like, you know, the little pistols. Now we're bringing out the cannons for when the UFC comes, which is good because I feel slowly and progressively over time I've been able to show more and more out in my career. So yeah, when after that kickboxing win, that got the attention of Cage Warriors, and then we managed to get a fight, and then I won 2 straight after that. Then towards the end of the year, sort of in the summer, actually, I dislocated my knee. That was a bit of a bummer because I was getting ready to fight in summer for Cage Warriors, and that ended up.
Didn't you say that was a couple of weeks before the title fight? Is that correct?
Oh no, that's not even talking about that. This is talking about I this was after I was 6-2, so I just turned 6-2 as a pro, and before I was going to have the 9th fight, I dislocated my knee then, so which probably made it more prone to getting dislocated in the future. But so again, that set me back. But then towards the end of the year, because I'd got injured, Cage Warriors had wanted me to fight in a particular card, and then had complications with that, so they allowed me 1 fight outside my contract, which is why everyone was wondering, why am I fighting for the belt in Fight Star Championship? And it was only because I was allowed 1 fight outside the contract just to stay active, because they basically, again, there were problems to get me a fight at that point, just because all their cards were full with people. So I ended up going to Fight Star Championship, win their belt. And that sort of put me in a good position to sort of say, listen, I need to fight high level competition. And I want to fight a guy who's like, ranked high, like enough of me fighting, guys that I know I'm better than. I want to fight someone that people think, that I'm not going to beat, which was Marcin Wojciech, was my first one. And, he was a KSW title challenger. So that was my first big fight. And that was the one that got me, that was the first fight of 2019 that got me sort of more into the picture of being one of the better athletes in Europe. So I was losing the fight. I've got to give credit to Wojciech. He had a very good game plan. But we had been working a lot on just getting back up to my feet. Not so much on, too much of the wrestling, like, takedown defense aspects, but more just getting back up to my feet, doing loads of shark tanks. And lo and behold, that happened in the fight. And literally, it must have worn him. And then towards the end, I just hear my dad screaming, like, knee, knee, and then telling me that all the sequences towards the end of the fight ended up spinning back kicking and winning the fight. That's what then eventually led to my title shot. They actually wanted to make that fight happen in Copenhagen. But again, for some reason, complications, whatever, couldn't happen. So then I was happy because it meant that, I could fight on the Night of Champions, which was, I would say, the biggest Cage Warriors card of the year.
Yeah, definitely.
And I thought it was a bit weird that we were on the prelims, but either way, I got on that card, and it was a title fight against Hamlet. And again, I'm not sure how much of an underdog I was. I mean, I've heard his credentials in wrestling. I know he's an amazing competitor and athlete, and he's had so many accolades. So obviously
he was undefeated before he fought you as well.
Yeah.
Yes, he was 5-0, and he pretty much ran for everyone from what I saw. And yeah, he was like highly touted. All the UFC guys were praising him and stuff like that. So once again, I was a massive underdog in that fight. I mean, the first round, it looked a little bit shaky just because he had me in a couple of tough spots. But again, I wasn't worried. I knew I'd been in these positions in training. So it was just a case of staying relaxed and doing what I normally do. And yeah, that's what eventually led me to get out of it. And I think already once I got out of the first round, it may have put a little bit of doubt in his head, because after that, then I was able to land more strikes, do more things. And then obviously by the time I got to the 4th, it seemed my cardio had overplayed his, and the wrestling attacks that he would normally do, he wasn't able to do it with as much intensity. And as well, the fact that I got back up to my feet every time he took me down, I think was another drain on his energy. So yeah, I ended up winning the title there.
We was watching the fight when doing a bit of homework for this interview as well, and
Yeah.
we did feel like that Hamlet did look like the much heavier guy on the night as well.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. He did look a lot more like solid. I definitely, I definitely think I look like more of the leaner athlete. I'm not sure how tall he was. I think he must have been about 6'1", but yeah, I can. He did look a bit wider, but then again, with the wrestling sort of physique, you see they're quite thick and stocky, and obviously that played well to his style and everything. You know, they had their own particular game plan. They had their little tricks that they wanted to do, but then obviously when it went into the fourth round, it's like, you know, when you sort of run out of ideas, then then that's when I can implement my game plan a lot more. And it was just a case of slowly tagging him down, finding that, because I could not find the range as well as I thought in that fight. Like, I was still trying to be very cautious because I didn't want to get taken down. So but I was glad that it went the way it did, because that, even then, up to that point, that was the most I've showed in a fight, which is great, which is again what I've wanted. And then already after that, there were. That's when I signed. After that fight, that's when I signed with my management, Iridium Sports Agency, amazing agency, really good group of guys, massive family. I really feel like they care about me. I know they got a lot of athletes, but they really do take good care of me. Answer my questions all the time, even if I ask so many stupid questions. I ask them something and at 2 o'clock in the morning, they'll still come back to me. So they're even planning meetings and stuff like that. They'll be on the ball, on point, and I couldn't ask anything more. And they were already considering that that UFC could be the next step. And already that what they were telling me was that there was already interest after that Hamlet fight. They said there was already interest in me. I mean, I even saw Mick Maynard, who's the UFC matchmaker. He reposted my finish on his personal page. So I thought that was quite, that already was a bit of a sign that, okay, I've gotten on their radar.
Yeah, the eyes are on you.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, listen, there's a lot of other athletes that maybe at that point they'll think, oh, maybe we should just wait it out, and then if an opportunity comes up. But this, as an athlete and as a fighter, I just want to fight, man. Like, I feel like I get better every time I'm in there. So we were hoping that maybe we could get on the Copenhagen card, because what it seemed like was if Hamlet would have won, he would have definitely gotten on that card, or that's what everyone was saying before the fight. Yeah. So we were quite optimistic that, okay, well, since now I've taken that win, then maybe I could perhaps get on that card. Obviously, it got close to the fight. No one pulled out, so obviously I couldn't step in. So then after that, we were like, okay, cool, let's sign the battle agreement for our next fight. They found it very hard to find me an opponent, but then eventually they found me Ricardo Nasilio, who, I mean, if you look at his wins, he pretty much steamrolled everyone.
Yeah.
The only loss that he had, he even rocked the guy, and that guy's now in the UFC. So, extremely tough competitor. So it was good. And then that was my first ever fight on the main card. I'd never fought on a Cage Warriors main card before, and that was my first ever time. So it was a wicked thing. Like I actually enjoyed it much more, fighting a bit later, a bit more eyes on you. I liked more of that stress, the pressure. And that was one of the things that I sort of took.
It's like with the preliminary cards, especially with England, the arenas don't fill up directly like they would in places like Asia or maybe even America. So I get that waiting until the main card, it will make a difference for the performance.
Oh, 100%. I love that. And I feel like now I just sort of rise up to the occasion even more. And one big thing that I've been doing, especially since that Hamlet fight, was visualization, and even just putting up, like I had a picture before the Hamlet fight with like 4 or 5 pictures or three pictures of me and Jones together, Jon Jones in training, and then one picture of the Cage Warriors belt. And I actually saw him at the Body Power Expo, and like, it was weird because it's been, I'd spotted him when I was 22, and at that time, and still now, I'm 25. So I think, okay, this happened like 3 years ago. Is he even going to remember me? And but when I came up to him at the stand at the Body Power Expo, he knew exactly who I was. We shook hands. It was crazy because I'm like, bloody hell, it's as if like we never really, we'd never been apart or whatever. Like, he already from seeing me, he shook my hand. He's like, oh yeah, how you been doing? And blah blah blah. So he signed my piece of paper, and I told him that I had a title fight and this and that. And then I wrote underneath, I said that I'd win by TKO. I wrote in round 2, but obviously it happened in round 4. But what I find is really interesting is that before the fight, I wrote I would win in round 2 at 3 minutes 56 or something.
Mm-hmm.
And I think in the fight, it ended up being stopped in 3 minutes 57. I think that.
So you were close. You were close.
Do you know what I mean? If that's anything to say that the law of attraction and stuff like that works, that would definitely be a prime example. So
it'll be
I've been
move
doing
over
that
Mystic Mac, and here comes Mystic Modestas.
That's it. Call me Mystic Mo, Magical Mo. So and then that's when I sort of started implementing the whiteboard and stuff like that. And then again, I wrote, I'd finish Ricardo by knockout in the first round. Obviously, I wrote on my board that it happened by head kick, but it happened in the fight. They ended up winning by elbow strikes. And again, all these things and all these sequences, like, I've got to give a massive shout out to all my coaches, because especially my dad, because they're always telling me exactly the right things, everything in the corner, everything in the change room beforehand. Like, they're all giving me all the right things. I think the accumulation of all these fights and the added pressure of each and every fight is what's made me become a much better fighter. I really feel like last year was the year that got me, cemented into the top fighters in Europe, because I'm not a guy to take easy fights. I asked for it. I asked for a guy like Wojciech in my first fight of the year. I asked for the title shot against a good guy. I asked, like, listen, let me defend my belt against a good guy with a good record, with a win streak, and blah, blah, blah. So, I feel like I just rise up to the occasion every single time, and it builds my confidence. It makes me feel like I can do more when I'm out there, and, you handle the nerves a different way. Like, I much more prefer. I used to hate fighting late in the evening. I used to think, oh my God, I just want to get this done and over with. Now I'm like, I'm loving this. I love like the whole situation and, and stuff like that. So, I think all of those things, inevitably, I guess there may have been things that have been seen by the UFC and stuff like that in me. And, when I talk on the microphone and this and that, that they like. And so if I'm going to talk about, obviously when I actually found out that I got signed, after the title defense, it was really unsure as to what would happen next.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a chat with my manager, and we were sort of trying to figure out, like, what is the next logical step? What should we do? Are we going to get called up? Are we not? And the UFC is really not signing guys like straight off the bat that much anymore. Until the Contender Series came along, guys were getting signed, from winning on the regional circuit. But now it's becoming very rare for that to happen. Although, as we've seen, there's been quite a lot of signings at the beginning of this year. But my manager told me there's only 5 signings last year outside of the Contender Series, which just gives you an indication as to, how little they're actually signing guys. Well, if you can imagine, all the Contender Series, they're giving out, contracts. The roster's getting filled up. So it's
every week almost.
Mm-hmm, exactly, and it's becoming increasingly more difficult to try and add any more to the roster. Obviously, that's why it frees up, certain weight classes like heavyweight and light heavyweight, though, because there's a lot of lighter guys that are getting signed. But yeah, so the conversation we had was, what are we doing next? And he goes, listen, just stay ready. If anyone pulls out in UFC London, we'll be able to step up. But he said we're probably gonna enter for the Contender Series. That was what our initial plan was.
Mm-hmm.
We were like, okay, if London doesn't happen, we're definitely going to get on the Contender Series, which again I didn't mind, because it gave me it would happen in June, I think, sometime, so I'd have plenty of time to prepare. I get to fight in Las Vegas. I mean, who doesn't want to bloody fight in Vegas?
Yeah.
Like, the fighting capital of the world and everything. So yeah, that was in the plan. And not to say that, like, that disheartened me, but I'm like, oh bloody hell, we got to do another one. Although, at the same time, I'm like, okay, cool, I'm ready for the challenge. So it will give me a lot of exposure. So there's still a lot of good things that come out of this. But then and that was just before New Year's. And then I think maybe 3 or 4, and he said, like, literally he's going to talk to Mick Maynard to find out, what's going to happen. Like, or at least like tell him what our plans were. And then he talked to him, told him about me, said, listen, he's a Cage Warriors light heavyweight champion. Even if we don't fight till July, like, let's get him signed. He would be a good prospect and blah blah blah. And they managed to talk out, and then Mick finally says, yeah, let's just give him a contract. And yeah, that's the story how my management told me. And like, they called me at 1 o'clock in the morning, because obviously they're in America and I'm here, so the time difference is a bit it's quite, I think 7 or 8 hours.
Mm-hmm.
So it's 1 o'clock in the morning when I got a call. But then I wasn't awake at that time. But then I woke up at 3 o'clock to take your usual, middle of the night piss. So I went to go to the toilet or whatever, and then I saw my phone. Okay, boom. The management called me, and I thought, should I wait till morning? Should I, do it now or whatever? And I thought, what? Since I'm awake, I might as well call them now. Literally, completely not expecting anything. Like, from that conversation I had, I'm like, I'm set on what I'm doing. And then he goes, how you doing? I'm like, well, yeah, I'm doing all right.
I'm sleeping.
No, what I mean? Yeah, it's 3 a.m, not been able to sleep well, a little bit sore, but not too bad. He goes, well, I don't think you're going to want to sleep after I tell you this. I'm like, what's that? He goes, how do you feel about fighting in the UFC? And I literally must have said wow for like the next like 2 minutes. I didn't even know what to say. I was just sitting there. Yeah, I was like a parrot. I was like, wow. So yeah, it was a very crazy moment, just because I've been through so much, man. I've been through a whole roller coaster in my career. So to finally get it to this point where they want you like straight up from all those performances, and I had a very good 2019.
Mm-hmm.
So just coming from where I did, from being on the top of the heap, going back down, tumbling down to the bottom of the mountain, and climbing all the way back up again with so many doubters and people not really believing in what I could do. And then finally I just have to, but it's, all these times I've had to prove it, it's made me step up my game. It's made me train harder. It's made me train smarter. So there's a lot of things that came out of it, but to finally get signed, it felt a little bit surreal. But at the same time, when I told my dad and everything, like, although he was very happy and, smiling from ear to ear and like a Cheshire cat, and, he was very happy, even now, like, he's still, but we're just very motivated now to go and prove ourselves, to go show ourselves on the world stage. This is now, for us, this is like, okay, well, this is the next logical step. This is what we've been working towards. It doesn't feel like a surprise when you've been working for it and you're 100% ready for it. The only time it feels like a surprise is if, well, you almost don't think you deserve it. And right now I feel like I've definitely earned it. And I'm so happy that, I finally begin the opportunity to fight in the best fighting organization in the world. Like, if you want to get known as one of the best fighters in the world, you fight in the UFC. That was where it all started, really.
Yeah, I think you just answered probably 10 of my questions in one go. But, so I know that the UFC are a bit like sometimes secretive about their contracts, and they want to release news first and things like that. What are you allowed to say about your contract? Is it like a multi-fight deal, or is it a European only kind of contract?
Nah, so I'm signed to a 4-fight deal. I think that's pretty much all I can disclose to you lot.
Mm-hmm.
And that's about it. But yeah, it could be anywhere. I can fight in Vegas if they have something. But there's a lot of other things that go into it. Like, I've still got to be in the drug testing pool for a couple of months.
Mm-hmm.
I've got to, if I would fight in another country, there's the whole terms of visas. So it would be more favorable for them to have me fight on a European card, so they wouldn't have to worry about that. But again, it all just depends, man. Like, you know, I could fight wherever they say. You know, at the end of the day, now they're my boss, so wherever they say I gotta go, I'll go.
Yeah, hard worker right there. It's just wherever the fight is, you'll go. You just want to fight.
Well, that's it, mate. Trust me. I think as a fighter, there's always that itch to just want to get in there, especially when you see all your friends and other people getting, you know, booked for fights and this and that. It's just like, you know, I want my turn now, man. I want to do my thing. And, you know, obviously you feel the success of your friends and, you know, you're happy for them. And then that just brings, you know, more of an energy towards yourself for your own fight. So it's all good, man. I think as fighters, all of us, we're all trying to get to the top at the end of the day. So we all feed off each other's good energy, and it's a very good thing.
Yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of Cage Warriors champions and fighters that have gone over to the UFC. So I can see that you're seeing them leave the door and going on to the UFC, and you was a bit like, when's it my turn kind of thing. But yeah, it's still a huge congrats, and I truly believe that that's something that somewhere that you belong and something that you deserve, especially with your performances over the last year as well.
Oh, I really appreciate that, man. Thank you. Yeah. Long time coming, but I'm glad it's finally here now.
And you're still young as well, so.
Yeah. Do you know what I mean? I look at my age and I'm thinking, you know, you've seen some other fighters that have gotten there that are actually a little bit younger. I almost feel like people may look at me like I'm silly. I'm like, almost feel like I'm getting a little bit older. I mean, I'm going to be 26 next month, so.
That's nothing, Junior. Trust me, that's nothing.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I know people keep telling me, but you know, if you're thinking about your career and stuff like that, I'm like, realistically, you know, you may have only about, you know, depending on how injuries and this and that, and how everything plays out, you might only have like 13 years left of this. And I'm like, I know 13 years seems like quite a long time, but mate, it's gotten up to this point really fast. And I'm like, do you know what? I just got to make the most of this as possible. Yeah. And fight, you know, as much as I can and when I can. And the only way you're going to do that in the UFC is if you're entertaining, you know, you've got something about you. So I'm hoping to just bring that to the table, get noticed, get out there, and get me fights and go and prove myself against the best in the world.
Yeah, we were looking at your picture on Tapology.com, and I mean, I gotta say, you look like a Slavic James Bond. It's a fucking cool picture.
The Slavic James Bond. I think that should be my nickname for the fights. I've been looking for one for ages, but
yeah, that'd be great for Bruce Buffer to say, you know.
Yeah, that actually sounds like a front runner, mate. Honestly, out of all the names that I've been given, that sounds like a top runner. I have to run it past my dad and see what he thinks of that.
You got to see with the management that you can get the copyright and everything.
Yeah.
So it's
and obviously you'd want a percentage since, you know, you came up with it for me.
So this is the one I'm talking about.
Yeah. Oh my lord, mate! That photo though, that's from 2016.
So if anyone wants to check it out, Tapology, is that you at middleweight or is that light heavyweight?
That was me when I just weighed in at middleweight. Literally just stepped on the scale. So if that's an indication to how different it is from where I am now, I mean, you know, obviously the sleek jawline is still there, but. But yeah, I look a lot more gaunt in that photo than I do now in my weigh-in photos.
So there is an option, as if UFC would say, you know, hey, we got a middleweight fight that someone just kind of dropped out. Would we see you at middleweight at any time if the opportunity arises?
Not at all, mate. Honestly, I think I would drop to the floor before I even made it to the scales, man. Like that's a scary thing, mate. People don't get it's hard for me to cut down to light heavyweight now. Yeah. Like, not to say that it's hard, but it seems like I carry a lot of water. Everyone's always like, when I get in the sauna, I drop weight so easily. Like, but you know, at the end of the day, middleweight wasn't the right weight for me. I feel stronger, faster, fitter. You know, I get to eat more calories. There's so many things that, you know, I can do at the light. I mean, I've been sparring with heavyweights pretty much, you know, most of my career. So it would it would make no sense for me to get down to middleweight now. Yeah, like it literally thinking about right now. It would only if I ever did that, it would be me like literally reenacting a nightmare or something. Those cuts were. I thought my cuts for light heavyweight were back then. Oh my lord, I don't even want to go back to that.
No, yeah, that's a smart decision as well. Anthony Johnson also put up a little cryptic tweet that he's going to be coming back, and I'm sure he's not going to be fighting at 170 or middleweight ever again.
I don't even know if he'll be fine at 205.
Me
To be
neither,
honest
to be
with
honest,
you,
but
I mean, look at him. He looks like an absolute tank.
yeah. So people have been saying that the UFC has had these problems with the light heavyweight division to the point of there's no new blood and no proper title contenders, to the point of a lot of middleweights are coming up, and getting straight into that title run, especially with your friend Jon Jones. We got to put that on. So yeah, I feel like it's a great thing that the UFC are bringing in some new blood, like yourself and other fighters, to really prop up that division. I think it needs it, really.
Oh yeah, I mean, look, they just signed the light heavyweight champion from Ryzen as well. He's a very, very tough competitor as well. So, obviously with him, he's probably going to be getting, higher ranked guys straight away just because of his credentials, as opposed to myself. But yeah, man, we need to keep adding spice to the division, but I don't understand why people, in my eyes, I mean, listen, as a general MMA fan, loads of people would say that the light heavyweight division isn't that deep, but I mean, you look at all the fighters. There's like a long cross. I understand there's not ones that maybe would stand out, but there's still a lot of very, very tough guys out there. You've got guys like Ion Cutelaba, Johnny Walker, Corey Anderson. You've got Rakic, Ozdemir. Like the division seems to be stacking up quite well. Obviously, I like to put my take into the mix as well whenever it gets time for me to fight. But yeah, man, like I feel like now the light heavyweight division is going to start seeing a lot more top contenders rising through, and it's going to become a lot more competitive. And I think Jon Jones may even see, a lot of new rising stars come up to try and challenge for the belt. Because as we said, he was very short on finding any guy to really give him any trouble. So yeah, it'll be nice to see over the course of the next couple of years, where the light heavyweight division would sort of stand. And yeah, like I said, I'll look to be putting my impact on the division also.
So let's say that the Mystic whiteboard stays true, and you get up the rankings and straight into that title contention. Do you feel like it'll be a problem if Jon Jones is still the champion, that you would have to take on someone that you do consider as should I say mentor or friend or training partner?
I mean, he's an idol. Like he's sort of the guy that I'd look up to. I mean, when I first saw him walking in the room and then coming up to me saying, oh, do you want to do a couple of rounds or whatever? I was quite starstruck. I was like, oh my God, like literally, this is like my hero pretty much. Yeah, and do you know what? It doesn't matter what he's done outside of it. And, everyone's got their own personal problems. He's just been shone into the limelight in front of everyone, with all of his stuff. So he's always been the most courteous guy, the most respectful. Outside of all the things, he's a funny guy, like he's just he's a regular person. And then when we sparred, we had like a really good connection. So for me, if it ever got to the point, like that is almost like a dream come true. Like, you know what I mean? You're always wanting to be considered in the same light as your idols, or to be considered as the greatest of all time, and this and that. And it would be an absolute honor if I was ever able to walk across the cage from him in a real life situation. Because we've been in the cage situation. I think he'll make for quite a good story as well. Like we practiced in the training room all those years ago, and now the guy that I've been looking up to all these years, I finally get to be across the cage from him. I mean, listen, obviously the dream is to be able to catch up with him before he retires, because I know really in the current climate there's I don't know how many years we can maybe expect to see him, because he's done pretty much everything MMA that has to offer. So it would be it'd be a massive dream of mine to finally be able to stand in front of him. And I think it would make for quite an interesting show. And then like in terms of how the story's written and the legacy and stuff like that, that'll be a massive fight. So obviously, just got to keep training hard, keep dreaming, keep believing, and then hopefully we might see that someday.
Yeah, I mean, like you were saying about him getting to that point and doing everything that's already needed to be done, but if it gets to the point of you facing each other and the promotion that being great and everything, UFC, if you're using our footage to pick up the fight and everything, you better be filling our bank accounts.
Trust me, give us all some bread. You know what I mean?
So as well, you're a London guy and everything. You was born in Lithuania and you do represent it well. UFC London is coming up. Is there any talks about you maybe fighting there?
By
Or
the
is it
looks of
too
it,
soon?
no. Not that it's too soon, but they've already got a lot of fighters on that card. I think they have about 11 fights already. Really, they've only got space for maybe one or two more. And, in all fairness to, the guys who already signed on the roster and ones who were born in the UK. Obviously, don't get me wrong, born in Lithuania, but I was bred in Britain. I've been living here, pretty much since I was 3 years old. So 23 years of my life.
I'm just going to go
But yeah,
turn the thing off.
I don't think we're going to see me on that card just because it's already filled up. We're probably going to be seeing me fight, I'd say May or June of this year, from what my management has told me.
So there is a good opportunity that your first fight in the UFC will be straight in the US side of things as well. So
yeah, I mean, look, at the end of the day, the conversations between my management and myself, they come whenever something big comes up. So usually if everything's sort of a little bit more quiet, I just know I just have to do my part in the training room. At the end of the day, I'm a martial artist. I'm looking to try and be as good as I can and try and improve in all aspects as much as I can, because inevitably that's what's going to help me when I'm in there. So as long as I can do that and just keep improving, then when the opportunity arises, I'll be ready. I think Conor McGregor says it when preparation meets opportunity. It's a beautiful thing, and it really is. You just got to stay prepared and stay sharp. So whenever they give me that call, we have a battle agreement for you, then that I'll be ready.
yeah, definitely. Because I saw as well, and especially Scandinavia, I guess they have all seen it as well, that you was called out for UFC London by Kenneth Purdy, who is a
Yeah.
teammate of the person that you defeated for the title, Marvin Hamlet.
Yeah. I mean, look, all I'll say on that, look, I have no disrespect to him or his team. It may have sounded like I was a bit rough or harsh when I gave my take, but you got to understand in my position, I have grafted hard. I've literally just fought 3 top European fighters with good records to get into the UFC. I've paid my dues. I'm not fighting, guys with records of 0-0 to try and, build up my record. Like, he has fought some good guys, but look, he went on to the Contender Series and lost, and then he went on to Ultimate Fighter and lost. So, I mean, yeah, okay, you look at my loss or whatever, but I've been grafting away. I've been doing my bits. I've just not got signed by the UFC. Like, if you think that you're gonna call me out and then get a fight on the UFC by obviously I understand you got to do what you got to do. At the end of the day, you're a fighter, but in my personal opinion, it would probably be better for him just to go and maybe fight in Cage Warriors, go fight some top level guys, prove your worth, and then the UFC will sign you. I think that's a better route to victory, to getting signed by the UFC than call out a guy who's already in the UFC, but you're not in the UFC. So that makes absolutely no sense in my opinion. I mean, it's up to whatever anyone thinks, but like I said, when people have called me out and and said this, it's like, I've paid my dues. I've I've fought some top level guys. I've had to prove myself. I've not said no to any like top level guy. I've just worked hard, proved the people wrong, and done what I have to do. I understand it's your teammate, and you want to get one back, but the only way you're going to do that is by actually getting signed by the UFC yourself.
You
And
don't want to be used as a stepping stone kind of thing.
yeah, exactly. I don't want to be used as oh yeah because he's from London. Yeah, let's use him, and then we could get that UFC contract. It's like, nah, it has to be done the right way. You got to go and prove yourself on the circuit. Unfortunately for him, he didn't make it. Like I say, he didn't make it on the Contender Series or the Ultimate Fighter. But okay, the other avenue is go on the regional circuit, go to promotions like Cage Warriors and beat some top level guys. You know what I mean? Guys with good records, and then you'll get noticed. Same way I done. I don't want anyone to get in sort of the easy way just by waiting and calling out. I mean, I understand that's part of the game, but you got to understand it's almost like people say that I sounded disrespectful. It's almost a bit of disrespect to me. When really you've got to do your part. You know what I mean?
John?
Yeah, but it's meant to provoke, right? It is a provocation.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And look, at the end of the day, I have no problem with that. At the end of the day, it's still quite fun.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You have someone call you out, you have a bit of back and forth, but I still feel that the respect is there. Although we all have our piece to say and we'll have our own opinions, obviously it creates hype. It creates a good sort of feel in the MMA community. But look, I'm looking at fighting UFC fighters now. Yeah. And that's just as simple as it is. I want to climb the way up the ranks. I don't want to fight a guy who's coming from outside the promotion coming in, unless it was like a last minute thing. Do you know what I mean? So that's just my take on it. But at the end of the day, like I said, there's no disrespect to him or to his team. It's just obviously how I feel. Fair enough. Everyone's got their own opinion.
So I know that like you are the fighter and you do have the trust in your management team and everything. But if you are eyeing one UFC light heavyweight that you would like to have your debut fight with, what kind of fighter would we see you against?
Do you know what? Like, I haven't even really, to be honest, looked at who they could possibly face me against. I mean, it's like you said, there's no one that like sort of really stands out to me. And I know it sounds a bit boring. Oh yeah, well just give me whoever. But really, that's the case right now. At the minute, obviously, I'm not going to fight anyone in the top 15, even though I feel like I'm ready to do so. But obviously, that's not going to happen from a business standpoint. So, it's whoever they have next, whoever they have in line. Whenever the name comes up, I just know that I'll be ready. Doesn't matter if they're a wrestler, doesn't matter if they're a striker, doesn't matter if they're a good jiu-jitsu guy. I will be ready and prepared to neutralize whatever attack they have to throw at me. And that's all I'll say. I'm ready to fight whoever they put in front of me, but it is my goal by the end of this year to make it to that top 15 and go and start plugging away at the top tier fighters in the world.
Mm-hmm. So just a final little subject that I would like to speak about, because Swedish TV, we don't really get shows like Take Me Out and things like that.
Oh my Lord, here we go.
So yeah, so you was on a dating show in England and kind of put yourself out there on the what Sweden would maybe call cringe TV kind of thing, but how did that go?
Well, do you know what? It was actually an amazing experience. I actually did much more for my promotion than any of my other fighting videos or things did. So it's quite weird. You'd think, oh, a dating show is what's got you noticed. But it sort of puts me in a good position as well if I'd want to apply for any other TV shows. So like I said, stay tuned. You never know where my face may pop up next. But it was like a very random thing, to be honest, because I got a friend request on Facebook, and it was by someone called Lucy Caster, and I was like, oh well, that sounds like a nice name. I don't know who it is, but I'll just add it. Just me being naive and stupid, and then,
single.
Yeah, and single. So I'm like, listen, any girl that I can get a friend with, if they're adding me on Facebook and I don't know who they are, chances are they might like the way I'm looking. So maybe I'll get my chance here. Then, so I accept the friend request, and then it had like an application to take me out, and I was like, and again, thinking nothing of, oh, cool, why not apply here? Do you know what I mean? And I was doing it not necessarily as a joke, but I was like, oh well, why not? Do you know what I mean? Like, what's the worst that could happen? Filled
No
out my
fight news
application.
right now, so you're
Yeah.
like,
And then 5 minutes later, I got a call from an unknown caller. Now, me, I didn't pick up because sometimes you get these business calls, you get a prank call. I was like, nah, I ain't having none of that. Not today. And then I get a message on Facebook from that same person saying, oh, hey, this is Lucy from Take Me Out. Are you free for a phone call? And then we had the phone call, we had the phone interview. Then after that, they invited me. So straight away after that, they invited me to come in for like a formal, like the main interview or whatever, or the main audition. I went in and I'm literally having to act out like, so it's like an hour and a bit, and like I had to act out everything from the show with like pictures of women on the wall, and so it's basically just me and in this room in front of 3 or 4 girls just dancing my ass off in front of these pictures on the wall. So
that sounds like a psych
as you
evaluation or something.
yeah, and like you have to choose your so everything, they just wanted you to do it like you would be on the show. And then shortly after we got it was an amazing experience just to be put under pressure and under nerves, but in a different way. Like, mate, I swear to God, when I went up that love lift and you're waiting to come down in front of all those girls, that was more nerve-wracking than making the walk to the octagon. I was like literally that. I was like, this is like the craziest experience of my, but it sort of goes along the line of the same, because that got filmed not this past year but the year before that in November. So this was like my start of taking on big challenges, taking on pressure, not caring, like doing
Yeah,
more
the whole fuck it
crazy,
attitude kind of thing.
yeah, doing more crazy adventurous things. And like that was the start of it. That's what helped me, like doing that. You're in front of all these cameras, there's like a live audience, you have to go down, you have to think of your comebacks and this and that, like straight away in front of all these girls. And like doing the whole thing, like the whole experience was, and it was done within like 4 days as well. Like literally they we did the show that night, got flown to the Isle of Fernandos the next day.
I
And
haven't
then
seen that on a map anywhere. I
it's
don't...
Tenerife. There you
Well,
go.
all the secrets are out now.
The secret's been revealed. It's Tenerife, guys. So if you want to get a taste of Fernando's, go out there. But yeah, so we went out there, on that evening, and it was weird because at this time I thought I was gonna have a fight 2 weeks later. So
Oh, okay.
I was busting my ass in the gym. I was like, there's no salad or no, like, sorry, like all I was eating was salad. You see all my mates like eating cakes and steaks and all sorts. And I'm here eating salads and stuff, staying in shape for the fights. And then yeah, the next morning you had your date. Then that evening you'll go out, have a good time, and then the next morning you're back in London. So really, it was over within a quick space of time. And then yeah, unfortunately that fight that I had then got cancelled because the guy had pulled out and blah blah blah, had all sorts of complications. But yeah, man, I think that helped me in terms of just being more confident, just being myself and not worrying about it. Before, I've had a real problem my whole life, like never being the popular guy, never being that guy to be outspoken, always shying away, like, being the sort of reserved type. And now, I mean, as you can probably see from most of my interviews and how I am, like in the cage, like I feel like my personality is fine. I'm breaking out that shell to show the people the real me, because I think it's hard in all this environment for people to see what you really like with all the things going on. So I think it's a good thing for people to see what I'm really like, via these TV shows, via the interviews, and via just me, just being myself more. So I embrace taking on pressure situations. I love it. Like now, the feeling of nerves and being scared, it just lifts me. It like gives me energy to just want to be myself even more and do more of myself. And I think that in itself is going to help in my fighting career. And who knows, maybe some other, TV shows, modeling gigs, who knows? But with a nose like mine, I don't know how far the modeling is going to go.
Well, if Guy Ritchie's watching and wants to do another movie, I guess you'll be one of the front runners for that as well.
Listen, cool, hit me up. Well, to be honest, with the fighting climate, probably not anytime soon. But when we get closer to title contention, then maybe we'll get the movies going.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, but I was kind of thinking to myself, like, for a fighter to get on TV and then, you know, strip down to his fight gear, and you know, it shouldn't be that much different to getting in a cage, apart from the room only being full of women, kind of thing.
And except what you're doing is trying to impress a load of women. Usually when I'm getting in the cage, I ain't trying to impress no one. I'm just trying to beat this guy up. And this time it's like you have to make a bit of a show. I think like when the spotlight's on you, man, it makes you just want to do more crazy stuff. Like you're like, well, it's almost like you're peacocking, like you want to show off a little bit. Do you know what I mean? Like I think every person feels that way. When you're on TV, as much as you're being yourself, you're doing your thing, you got to show off a little bit. Like there's a camera in front of you. This is your time to do anything that you've wanted. Like it's always nice to have a bit of controversy. It's always nice to have a bit of talk about you. And the only way you're going to do that is, obviously not to push anything, not to go outside of your character, but do the things you've always wanted to do. Just do it in front of a camera. So
a little backflip or stuff like that people normally pull off.
Or
don't. So,
do you know what? I pulled off a backflip in my last fight, and they didn't catch it on camera. I was so upset. I literally was preparing properly to have it shown on Fight Pass, and they didn't get it.
The whole fight camp was just you practicing.
I know. The whole fight camp geared towards the backflip at the end, and didn't even happen. So
you have to talk to Graham Boylan about dropping
the one that. I landed probably the best out of all the backflips I've ever landed. Because I was full of adrenaline and everything was rushing, and then all they see me is this dorky face, like sticking my tongue out, and it's like you didn't even see the backflip.
You need to have the whole picture to understand it, kind of
thing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, like I said, talk to Graham Boylan about releasing the actual footage. Then maybe you can set it up on Instagram or something.
Yeah, we'll see if they can scoop it up from somewhere.
Yeah, but like what you were saying about just being yourself, and that I think that's a lot of mental inspiration for a lot of fighters, especially like ones that we are around, especially in the Swedish like amateur scene of just be yourself. Let the wildness out a little bit more. And
you gotta obviously let your actions do the talking. So as in go and perform in the cage, but at the same time and as well, people try and be too much like other people, and I think that's the wrong thing to do. If your personality isn't to be the outspoken crazy guy, then I'm sorry, that can't be you. You can't force that. George St. Pierre made millions in his career being the respectful, humble, but there was the story behind him, there was the background to him, and that's what everyone liked and everyone saw. And obviously his skill set was insanity. So it's the same with, everyone in the game. Everyone in the game who has done good and broke through, they've all been themselves and all had that individuality towards them. So I think as long as fighters are, in my eyes, being themselves and just trying to embrace the moment and not fearing anything, I think that's the only way really you're going to get the best out of yourself.
Yeah, definitely. True say. So thank you for your time. As you said, you are a talker, and we've given you the platform to let everyone, especially in the Scandinavian scene, learn a bit more about you. I just wanted to ask you if you have any message for fans, family, and sponsors out there before we drop off here.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I've got to give a massive shout out, obviously, to my management, Iridium Sports Agency. They taken care of me so much, and they got me this opportunity. So I couldn't do it without them. Listen, I've got a bunch of sponsors, which are doing a lot of good things for me. I'll try and list them all really quickly, but like 7NRG, amazing CBD supplements, and stuff like that. Mauler MMA, big time clothing brand. I think everyone's got to check them out. They're not getting the same attention that I mean, listen, I'm wearing it right now. I don't know if you can see that, but they're honestly one of the most comfortable clothes I've ever worn in my life. So I think people need to get on that.
Before you go on to the Reebok stuff.
Yeah, that's it. But even still, even outside of, even outside of the UFC, man, like, I'll still be wearing Mauler stuff and stuff like that. Fighter Shop UK, man, gives me all the greatest gear, and like all the head guards and gloves and everything. Man's an absolute amazing guy, Lithuanian as well. So we've got that. Distinct Physiotherapy. This is something I didn't get onto when we were talking, but I dislocated my knee again 3 weeks before the title fight, my last fight. and she helped me get back to full strength within like literally 2 weeks. So, you know, I've got to give a massive shout out to her. If it wasn't for her, I would, you know, I definitely wouldn't have been able to make it to that fight. Black Sheep Dispensaries, Merakilo. There's been a lot of people that have been helping me and, you know, giving me money to help me financially. And I've got to give a massive shout out to those people. You know who you guys are. Like, you know, if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be able to pursue this full time. I wouldn't be able to go and achieve and make these dreams possible. Sometimes you need that little bit of help and that little bit of a push. And, you know, I'm very thankful for those people who have given me that help and support. Yeah, it's just a big deal for me to have all these people out there, you know, really caring about me. I also got to thank obviously all my teammates, you know, Mill Hill BJJ, Roger Gracie Academy, BST Academy, Legion Wrestling. Obviously, massive big thank you to my dad. You know, he's the rock behind it all. You know, he gives me the strength, he gives me the technique, he gives me the belief. He's always believed in me, never gave up on me. So, you know, that's a big factor to me. I got to thank obviously Danny Batten and Denison Sutherland, who are my other two cornermen. They're like I find all my team and all the people that help me. Also, I've got to mention Ed Inglemel's amazing, helped me out with my BJJ and stuff like that. And like I say, everyone at Roger Gracie's Academy as well, and Mill Hill BJJ. I've said all this, but yeah, all these guys, they're like family to me. They treat me like I'm family. I feel the best way to get the most out of yourself is if you have a bunch of guys who are not just, you're just a number on a sheet. You're just another guy coming into the gym. They've got to be guys that you really have a solid connection with. You can hang out with them. You can trust them. You can, you know, you have like a bit more behind it. And guys that really care about you are going to want the best out of you. So when it comes to fight night, when they're actually caring about you, they're going to give you the best advice and the best. And that's why I've got the best team in the UK, I feel, because they all genuinely care about me from the heart, and I care about them also the same. But thank you to everyone. I mean, friends, family, listen, we're just getting started. We're just getting warmed up. It's about to get even more tasty out here. And I can't wait to put on a show and put on great performances for everyone out there. And yeah, let's just all continue to rise together.
So everyone, keep your eyes open for Modestas, and we'll be bringing you new stuff from Freja MMA very soon. Hopefully, we'll be able to get stuff out every week. And thank you very much for your time once again. And remember, it's not a hobby; it's a lifestyle. Cheers, guys.
That's it, mate. Thank you so much, guys. Yeah.
Cheers, man.
Had a really good time. Really appreciate it.